All right, Steeler fans, it's time for the second half of the Friday podcast. This means it's time for the All Betz Are Off segment with Jeremy Jerome Betz. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going?
It's going great, Jeff. As you can see, it's full on Aaron Rodgers season. I've got the wired headphones in for those who can't see. But I'm bought in, and I'm ready to talk about some Steelers today. How's it going?
Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers is there. Obviously, he's gotten a first padded practice in. At the moment that we're recording this podcast, the Steelers were supposed to have two in, but the first padded practice is always the most spirited. I know we talked before we hit record about how Coach Kevin Smith was there on Wednesday and got to see that practice, and I was tracking on social media, seeing what Coach was saying, see what all the beat reporters are saying. What was your takeaway from that very physical first padded practice, few padded practices? What was your takeaway?
Well, let me start with this. I think, the fact that Aaron Rodgers is still getting his feet under him in this offense with these new players is no surprise. The fact that the defense is playing well early in camp and kind of showing itself to be the more dominant side is no surprise. But what I think stands out to me, Jeff, is there's been 3, I believe, 7 shots practices, one with pads, obviously, and then the other 2 without. And the offense has won 2 of the 3. And they are dealing down there in the red zone. And I think that is one of the things that Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. The savvy before the snap, knowing where to put the ball, knowing where guys are going to be and what the defense is trying to do. Some of the situational stuff that he's able to handle at a higher clip, at a higher rate, and more efficiently is going to benefit the Steelers a lot. And that is maybe something that stood out to me kind of behind the scenes, if you will, that isn't like the training camp stats tracker type stuff, right? Or some of the useless information that we get brought to us. I think that is something that can actually translate to the field on Sundays when the Steelers play ball here in a few weeks.
Now, just for full clarity, we're recording this before Thursday's practice has concluded, so we don't know what the 7 shots were on Thursday. But according to Mind Records, they have 4. As of Wednesday, being the last one that we were able to actually talk about, it's 2-2. They've had 4 7 shots, 2 for the offense, 2 for the defense. The only thing that concerns me is the center quarterback exchanges, man, continue to be an issue. It was again on Wednesday. I don't think it's going to be an issue, but let's go back to Aaron Rodgers before we talk about the centers. I don't think the Steelers fan base really realizes how important it is to have a good processor when you get into the red zone and you get into those short situations. When you think back, even Ben Roethlisberger was not the best processor. He was very good at creating. Yeah. And so that helped him get away from or get out of some of those times where he didn't process quick enough. So what did they go after Ben Roethlisberger? Mitch Trubisky? No. Kenny Pickett? No. Justin Fields? No. He was a tuck it and run, and that worked for him.
Right.
Russell Wilson? Absolutely not. He just was not a quick processor. Aaron Rodgers is. So what I'm saying, I don't think the Steelers fan base has seen a guy that can process like Aaron Rodgers. Well, I don't know where you'd have to go back to. Ben was as close as it would get, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, as his career progressed, became better at the processing.
That is absolutely fair. Yeah.
Yeah. But even in like the Killer Bees era, he was always making stuff up after the snap. So, and that's what made him special. But yeah, I think that he transitioned more into that processing type quarterback, but Aaron Rodgers has kind of always been that guy.
Yeah, he has been. And I still remember throws in Super Bowl 45 that he made were just like, goodness gracious. Like the anticipation and knowing where everyone's going to be, just absolutely remarkable. I'm excited for Aaron Rodgers, but I got to be honest. I feel like the fan base, let's talk about the Steelers fan base for a second. They're not talking about Aaron Rodgers. They're talking about Broderick Jones. That's all they're talking about is how awful Broderick Jones is. Give me your take on the state of the offensive line.
Yeah, I think it's there's some shakiness to it, right? There's all these things that we talked about this whole offseason where the upside is there for this to be a good unit, but we have to see it in practice first. That all still stands. I just think that anybody jumping to like this guy's a bust, or the offensive line is going to be the thing that ruins the season, and it's a clear downgrade at left tackle, or any of that type of conversation. I just think is way too early to be having right now. I think right now the upside and that dreaded P word, right? The potential of this unit is there. But I mean, we need to see Broderick Jones playing football. We need to see him out there in these padded practices. Coach mentioned that he thought Broderick Jones looked smaller this year. So how does he play at his reduced weight? And so there are question marks. I'm not going to say that there aren't, but we don't need to be jumping one way or the other on they're going to be bad or they're going to be great bandwagon until we've seen it in action. And let's not forget too, as with any new offensive line rotation, it's going to take time for these guys to gel together. So hopefully they can get healthy or stay healthy, depending on the player we're talking about, and really get a chance to do that in training camp so it doesn't take quite as long into the season.
And that's the thing. Like you just said it, that the players, are going to get a chance to prove what they can and can't do. They will show us. It's not in a non-padded practice to start training camp. That's not it. Let's see how the rest of training camp progresses. Let's see how the preseason goes. And let's also be honest, let's also see how the regular season goes. That's when we'll see whether Broderick Jones has it or he doesn't. And if you're to guess right now, if Dan Moore's the bar, can Broderick Jones be that bar in 2025?
Yes. Just on athleticism and as a run blocker alone, even if he's like takes a little bit longer in the pass pro stuff, I think those two areas he's going to be stronger than Dan Moore Jr. right off the bat, and then you have a chance for him to really get into the swing of things on that left side and get used to that position. And I think that he has a chance to be a really good run or pass blocker as well to go along with those other aspects. But he was drafted where he was for a reason. And people forget that at Georgia, in his 2 years as a starter for Georgia at left tackle, he allowed a single sack for the Georgia Bulldogs. So he was just fine in pass protection. It was always that he was more athletic than everybody else and he needed some help on the technical side of things. So I think athletically, physically, more gifted than Dan Moore Jr., and he raises the bar in the run game. But as a pass protector, it may just take him some time to get into the flow of that, and we'll see how much time it takes. But the thing for the Steelers is they want to win now, right? They want to win this year. All the stuff from Pat McAfee show, everybody on there, Mike Tomlin to TJ Watt to Omar Khan, they say we're here to win a championship in 2025. So it can't take Broderick Jones too long to figure this out if they want to win. But I just think he does need some time back there.
All right, before we go to the defense, I want to ask you, what's your takeaway of the wide receiver situation after the first week plus of training camp? Do you feel any different about where they are with the wide receiver position compared to where we were before training camp?
I don't think so. I think that kind of where I sit is that if the Steelers do not add to the room, I think it's an area where they could struggle to find something consistent beyond DK Metcalf. And that was the whole thing last year too with George Pickens is what can you get consistent opposite this guy to take some of the pressure off? And I think DK Metcalf is uniquely positioned to handle it a little bit better than George Pickens did, because DK Metcalf, with his size and strength, can create separation that George Pickens was unable to do, even if he's being double teamed. So a lot of that attention going to Metcalf is kind of okay because he wins with size and with speed down the field. George Pickens won at the catch point. That was about it, right, for him. And he was good at it, but he didn't win it off the line of scrimmage and a lot of those things that DK Metcalf can do. So my concerns lie with the fact that I don't know if there's any consistency opposite DK Metcalf. I think that Calvin Austin III is going to provide some splash. I think Roman Wilson might even provide some splash. But where's the consistent option opposite DK? And then I think in two layers after that is like, if they do decide to add to the room, the Terry McLaurin stuff doesn't quite make sense to me because of how much money you'd have to pay him and is this offense designed to support two number one receivers? Absolutely not. So if they do go somewhere else, it does make so much more sense to go get a Romeo Doubs or a Jawan Jennings, one of these 2A type players that kind of fills more of a role on the team as opposed to is just another mouth to feed in a superstar situation.
Fair enough. I do want to get your take on the defense as well. So the defense, I've said it all offseason. This was before the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade, that I think the Steelers defense in 2025 is going to be significantly better than in 2024. And so far, the early reports are trending that I might have hedged my bet accordingly. What exactly do you think so far from the defense has been a surprise? Is there anything that has been a surprise for you so far?
We haven't heard much about the linebacker room, Jeff. I mean, and I know the pads just got on.
Yeah.
But these are the two starting linebackers are supposed to be kind of the fly around the field guys, the speed guys that run around and make plays in the passing game and everything too. The focus really has been, and maybe it's just because of the new acquisitions and like the TJ Watt extension, all the talk is focused on the defensive line and the corners. And I think what has surprised me the most is like when it comes to how the Steelers are going to defend the run this year, which was their biggest area of weakness last year. The guys I'm hearing the biggest talk about are the corners. It's the physicality of the corners coming up and playing the run. Joey Porter Jr. on Wednesday, from reports, was phenomenal playing the run. Jalen Ramsey on run blitzes and in the gaps, kind of playing in the box in some nickel and dime type packages, has been fantastic in the run game. And I just think that is... while it's encouraging from a secondary perspective, and it's also encouraging from the fact that the Steelers' run defense was shaky last year at times, that unit looks really good. Caleb Johnson had a rough day on Wednesday, and Jalen Warren popped maybe one run, but overall those guys were contained in run periods. It wasn't about the linebackers. It was about the secondary. It was about guys like Y.A. Black and Derek Harmon filling gaps. So how does this linebacker room continue to gel, and can they be a contributor and not just like the other position group on the field that is just playing support to the defensive line and the secondary? And maybe that's all they need to be, but you'd like, with the money that you paid Queen and the role that you're envisioning for Wilson, for them to be a little bit more impactful than that.
And let's be honest too, we are just getting into the nitty gritty, so to speak. The part of the training camp process when they're doing drills that are going to accentuate what the linebackers can do. You haven't seen them do, at least I haven't heard or read, they haven't done like the wheel route drill where basically the running back or tight end is on that wheel pattern. The linebacker has to cover. They haven't done that a lot. They did do some team running drills and obviously the team group stuff. They're just getting this thing started. I am also very curious about how they're going to use Peyton Wilson. Mm-hmm. Peyton Wilson is someone who has openly said, I don't want to leave the field. I want to be just like Patrick Queen. Are they going to do that? I mean, Mark Robinson showed out on Wednesday. He was like a freaking lightning bolt coming in on run fits and stuff like that. I think the inside linebacker room, we didn't even bring up Cole Holcomb or Carson Bruner, 7th round pick. That's a very deep room. Very deep.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, the one set of reports we were getting was that group kind of dominated in the backs on backers drill. Guys like Jalen Warren and Darnell Washington had their wins, but other than that, those linebackers were kind of beaten up on the other guys. I mentioned Caleb Johnson had kind of a rough first day in pads. He's a rookie. I still have really high hopes for him, but kind of got beat up in pass pro. He was out after practice with Jalen Warren working on that. So it's a good room, but they haven't flashed in like team 11 on 11 scenarios and stuff like that. Like maybe I thought they could by this point, and there's a lot left to play. So I'm just watching them a little bit closer. I feel better about the defensive line and the secondary, I guess, than I do that linebacker room. I have more questions about that room.
Well, let's also throw in the caveat that Coach Smith was at Wednesday's practice, said they are blitzing a lot. Mm-hmm. And so if they're blitzing defensive backs, a lot of times that requires the linebackers to not blitz, but to cover. And so that'll be interesting to see if that's a little wrinkle of the Steelers defense this year. Not that it's going to be successful, but it might be something to keep your eye on. I hope they do something different. You know, and we've seen the same thing since Terrell Austin's been the defensive coordinator. I hope they do something different. But Jeremy, I mean, is your excitement level up or down since they started training camp?
Oh, it's so way up. I mean, I keep thinking about like next week when we're doing this show, we'll be previewing an actual preseason game.
That's hard
and
to
it's
believe.
just like it's already here. I don't know about you, but I feel like this summer flew by faster when it comes to like the off-season stuff. Maybe it's because I've got a lot going on, but it just feels like it did. But I'm just so excited, and I'm not ready to say like I've been pretty consistent in my stance that I think this is like a playoff contender, but I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. I don't think I'm there on this team like they're going to be in the AFC Championship or this season's a waste, in my opinion. I know that's how the Steelers view themselves, right? But in my opinion, it kind of still holds that they're going to be a good team. They might be even a very good team. I just don't know if they're on the great team cusp yet. But not all that said, it doesn't dissuade my excitement for this team at this time of year. I'm just ready to see how all the pieces come together, because it's not just about this year, Jeff. They made so many moves that are going to be for the future as well. When you talk about DK Metcalf, Derek Harmon, all the rookies really, those guys are going to be here well beyond this year, and I'm excited to see how they develop over time.
Just remember, it's okay to be pleasantly surprised. If you have the expectation they're going to be a 10-win team and they go out and win 13 games, let's do it. That's my approach on it. But I want to let you do, before you give us your typical rant on your social media and stuff, I do have to talk a little bit. Happy Gilmore 2. You are with me. We love the movie.
So
Everyone
good.
else beat the crap out of it. Although, what was it? 45.7 million people tuned in on Netflix the first 3 days since it started last Friday. I thought it was fantastic. There were some parts that weren't as funny as the others, but that's also Happy Gilmore. I'll let you give your take.
Yeah, I mean, it's Adam Sandler, right? It's as slapstick as it gets. There's going to be some times where you roll your eyes, but I mean, just the cameos alone, Jeff, from the professional golfers made it worth it. And then I thought Sandler was funny. He was lovable. It was a great sequel. I don't know how you could like despise it. Like, I could get it if you're like the first one was so good nothing's ever going to hold up to it.
Yeah.
And the second one was just kind of a good movie, but it wasn't like anything earth-shattering. I loved it more than that. I thought some of the slapstick scenes were funny. All the callbacks, there's been some, and I haven't seen exactly what, but some callbacks to some actors that didn't make it back for the sequel in the movie. I think of the kid from Grown Ups that passed away. I think he made, they caught him on like a TV screen in the background or something like that. So all the heart of like an Adam Sandler film, and it was just funny, lovable. I thought it was fantastic. And then crazy at the end as well. And you just love to see it. Scotty Scheffler in the Slammer was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I won't give any spoilers. If you haven't seen it, if you like the first one, I've always stand by. If you like the first one, you'll like the second one. If you thought the first one was stupid, you're probably going to think the second one was stupid too. So I think those two jive. But all right.
It's not for everyone, but if you did like the first one, then I think.
Yeah, I think you're going to like the second one. I'll let you talk about what's coming up on the website as well as on your podcast stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we finished up the Training Camp Confidential. I had a couple articles on there, so check those out. I'm going to try to do like an update on a position group each week for the rest of camp here as well that I think is on the rise. Now that the pads are on and things are popping, we'll have one of those every week. And then I'm working on kind of a pet project of mine, just one of my, thought processes as I go throughout things. I don't want to spoil it. So, but keep an eye on the steelcurtainnetwork.com for that, and FFSN.com. And then the podcast side of things, we're ramping into prediction season with a lot of it. But on the Steelers Fix, if you missed it from Thursday, go back and listen, because we're talking about non-Steelers storylines that are actually about the Steelers, that really affect the Steelers outside of the bounds of Latrobe and Pittsburgh. So go check that out if you want to see what's going on around the league that could have an impact on the Steelers this year.
Love it, man. Next week we'll be previewing the first preseason game against Jacksonville. Yeah, so enjoy your last weekend without Steelers football, man. We'll talk soon.
Oh man, I can't wait. I'm ready. Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it.
All right, have a good weekend, man. We'll see you.
You too, Jeff.